A very hot place might have some ice crystals in it. Clemson might be using the transfer portal. Yeah, really. They're supposedly made an offer to an offensive lineman. I'm going to dive into that in just a second. Welcome to Clemson Football Live. I appreciate you joining me. I'm Brian. I hope you've subscribed. If you're new here, well, then you haven't subscribed. It's free. It's a great way to support the channel, and I appreciate you being here. Alan Heron from a D2 school called Shorter. You might have heard of it, but don't be shocked if you haven't. This guy is 6'6", well over 300 pounds, somewhere between 310, 320. He's a big dude. All right. And according to what I've read about him, up to this point, he has 20 Division I scholarship offers, including Louisville, Maryland, Kansas, VT, and others. Currently, he is ranked number 4 in the transfer portal for offensive tackles and number 25 overall for the portal so far. Now, remember, next week, the transfer portal opens up, and you're going to have people hopping on in there looking for a new home. But this young man announced that he had received an offer from Clemson. He said that he had received an offer, and that's good. That's a good thing if we need that player. Now, offensive, when it comes to offensive line, we know it's not that good. They've had some okay moments here and there, but overall they've been a letdown. And we have traced it back to the offensive line coach, and there's a lot of questions there of whether the lack of performance is all him. Maybe it's partially him, partially the players that he has, partial injuries. If you go onto Clemson football forums or onto YouTube channels who talks about Clemson football, and you scroll through the comments, the topic of offensive line is kind of segmented. There are people who believes that the offensive line played decent this year. There are people who believe that in a few games they played really well. But there is one truth that the majority of us, can unite on. The offensive line is not elite. Whether it's on the coach, the personnel, or a little bit of everyone, the offensive line is not elite at Clemson. Think about the offensive lines when Clemson won those 2 national championships. They were incredible. Our offensive line does not look elite. End of story. Who's to blame? Y'all can argue it out among yourselves. Now, let's talk about the transfer portal for a second. Before I do that, let's talk about this young man. I think he was a sophomore last year, so he'd have, 2 years of eligibility, something like that left? Correct me if I'm wrong. So, if he were to come to Clemson with the size that he has 2 years under his belt, even though it's D2 ball, he could bring a much needed desire and passion to play big time college football. There are some people who they got passed up. They didn't get the D1 or D1AA, which we call FCS. They didn't get the chance. And now they're a few years in to their college career. They've grown as individuals. They've grown intellectually. They've grown as a football player. And now they're given the chance. Let's talk about Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger, everybody thinks about him and thinks about the Super Bowl winning Pittsburgh Steelers. The problem there is he played at Miami of Ohio. And the reason he ended up at Miami of Ohio is because people didn't believe that he could play big time ball. I want to say that he was really skinny at the time, from what I can remember. Y'all could be wrong, but he was not a big time prospect. He wasn't massive. He wasn't a Trevor Lawrence coming out of high school. But this guy, especially if you're a Steelers fan, you know him and you appreciate what he gave you. Some guys have to grow in college, and they do. Jared Verse, who everybody is salivating over down at Florida State, the defensive lineman. This guy went to a really small school, entered the transfer portal, and he's now going to play on Sundays and probably make a ton of money, all because he grew. He ended up at Florida State. He took advantage of the opportunity that was given to him, and he excelled. So Alan Herron, this guy, I don't know if he'll come to Clemson, but don't be shocked if the guy is happy to be on a major stage. And don't be shocked if he comes out and he plays very well. Why? Because he's not like other guys who are 3, 4, and 5-star players who are highly recruited. And they came in and they just didn't live up to expectations. While this guy, on the other hand, takes advantage of the opportunity and wants it so much that he actually outperforms everyone. We've seen this happen before. So I'm glad that Clemson has reached out to him. I don't know if he'll sign, but to me, this is a good thing. So I got a bunch of people in here. I see Parker Henderson in here, Midlands Directory, Grafnar. What do I know about these guys? These guys are all members of the Clemson Football Live channel. Parker, thanks for being here, buddy. Grafnar, my buddy from Charleston. Midlands Directory, thank you for supporting the show. Also got Tiger in the Burrow. It's good to see you in here. Meme Masters, new viewer here to say keep up the great content. That's very kind of you. I believe that's Steve Harvey on your whatchamacallit. Adam Bolin, yes, Hunter Helms left the program. Rumor, let me see. Yes, sir, finally happened. Joe Hughes, bunch of you in here. I hope you've all subscribed, everyone who's here. The one and only Tedo. Could this be the start? Andrew Roof, transfer portal. Hey, I hope everyone is subscribed. And if you want to support the channel on a monthly basis, hit the subscribe button below. Also, there's a link below to 4puttcarts.com, who is a sponsor of the show. 4Putt Carts is a beverage and snack cart service. Good guy. I'm really bombing this today. I owe them an apology for golf courses, but also special events. So you're like, oh man, it's getting cold and so on. Special events. I bet you have special events getting it. Listen, let them handle the beverage and snack deal. All right. Get a pro out there. Reach out to them and let them know that you heard about them from me. Let's talk about the transfer portal. The transfer portal makes people really, really angry. All right. And here's what people talk about. They talk about guys who could have stuck it out at the school they were at, that they're whiny and they're leaving and they're just bouncing all over these things. Okay, I get it. Newsflash, we're human beings. And in a world where human beings are interacting, you're going to have to encounter the bad with the good. I know, it's shocking. It's like every time something bad happens that one or two human beings does. I mean, people hate this. Here's a PSA, or a public service announcement. This country has what, 330, 340 million people in it? If 1,000 people does one bad thing, the other 300 and let's just say 340 million, 339 million, 990,000, whatever, all has to pay for what the 1,000 does. That is a teeny tiny minuscule percentage to where it's like, here's the zero, here's the dot, there's a zero and a bunch of other zeros before you get down to the percentage. Okay. It's going to happen, folks. We don't have to pass a law every time someone does something. And that's the thing about the transfer portal. Don't overregulate it. If Jim Smith is unhappy at this school, give him the chance to transfer. And if he wrecks his career, so be it. But don't penalize Joe Smith because of Jim Smith. I know that's confusing. I do believe that there are players who are hitting the portal who have been lied to by their coaches. Coaches lie. They're human beings. They're salesmen. They tell them, they promise them a bunch of stuff. They get them there to the campus. They realize they've been lied to. Some players, they get to a school and they need a fresh start. Maybe something bad happened. Maybe it was their fault, but they need a fresh start. The transfer portal is good for that. You take players who were second and third string players. Maybe they went to a school. As I said, they were lied to. Maybe something bad happened and they need a change of scenery. Give them that shot. A coach can leave at will, right? Yes. Give them that chance. And some of these players wanting that second chance so bad, wanting to prove themselves, or maybe like Jared Verse, maybe they were coming out of high school and they had some good things, but they were not elite. Now they go to a school, they get a couple of years under their belt. Now they can play with the best of them. Give them that chance to move. There we go. There's the transfer portal in a nutshell. Can you build a team off of a successful team off of a transfer portal? I think long-term, no. You can get the transfer portal is meant to fill voids in teams. All right. If you need a good possession wide receiver, or you need that home run threat wide receiver, maybe you need a couple of extra offensive linemen to plug the holes that are there, or the ship could start going down. Maybe not completely sink, but it's not going to move. Go there. Get it. Go do your thing. So the transfer portal is good for that. Now, Clemson, Dabo, from what I can remember, claimed that he's made some offers. Just people didn't accept them. All right. It is interesting to me that our two transfer portal buddies that we've received at Clemson is Hunter Johnson, former Clemson player who transferred out, who came back just to basically be a GA. And then Paul Bear Bryant's great-grandson, who transferred from Bama to Arizona State, now to Clemson. And he's basically a GA in uniform. I'm not knocking these young men. I'm just saying it's interesting to me that that's the only transfer portal players that we've locked down. People across the board can go into the transfer portal and land players. But Clemson for some reason just can't. Maybe the whole story isn't being told. I don't know. Let's talk about what the transfer portal cannot fix. Poor coaching. Now, the season just ended. Clemson's 8-4. They were 4-4. They went on a 4-game winning streak. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, UNC beat South Carolina in a very ugly game. South Carolina is one of the worst teams we played all year. While they're over there mumbling about their strength of schedule, I can promise you that if you look at Clemson's schedule as a whole, out of the 12 teams Clemson played, South Carolina is one of the worst. Only teams in front of them right now will probably be Charleston Southern would probably be the worst team. Florida Atlantic. Maybe even Wake Forest is better than them. So while they're over there, talking trash about us and blah, 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 South Carolina is one of the worst teams we played this year. Take the rivalry out of it. It's true. And Clemson played terrible and barely beat them. Glad we did. I'll take it. Hoorah. Clemson plays Georgia opening game next year, Mercedes-Benz. Do you really want Clemson not to fix their offense? You really want to see the offensive performance that we saw this season? We thought everything was good in those first 3 games of the 4-run streak. We're like, oh, Notre Dame, man, the offense is looking better. Yeah, Georgia Tech, they're looking better. North Carolina, they're looking. Goose egg. Oh, that's because it's a rivalry. Folks, you just keep telling yourself that. But don't you dare be shocked when Clemson gets curb stomped by Georgia. Not because of the defense, because their offense is terrible. Now, offensive moves in the coaching sense will not be made until after bowl season. Most likely, you will not see any move in coaching by Dabo Swinney, if he's going to make a move, until the playoffs is over. National championship, it's done. And then Swinney could possibly make a move. That's, unfortunately, we're going to have to wait, 6 or 7 weeks for that? If it does happen, that is the only way that Clemson's offense gets fixed. I don't believe the offensive line is being coached at an elite level. I don't believe that our wide receivers are playing at an elite level. And if your response to me is, well, we don't have the wide receivers like Nuke and T. Higgins, and you are right, but let me reverse that on you. So you mean to tell me we have to have once in a lifetime talent for you to be a good coach? I'm just asking for a friend. I'm just asking for a friend who sat and watched Clemson drop a lot of passes the other night. After an entire season of, in fact, we've seen for a while now some really bad wide receiver play. So, just asking for a friend. Are we going to see changes at offensive line, on the offensive line coach, for the wide receiver coach, and read the rights to anyone else on offense or defense in the coaching realm? That is. Are we going to read them the rights and tell them, look, we're not charity university. This is not the Make-A-Wish Foundation for coaches who wants to coach, but they can't. We're going to kick you out. You're going to be done. We can't take this anymore. That's where you'll see change come at Clemson in a good way. You got to fire the right people, and you got to hire the right people. So, folks, Clemson looks like they're using the transfer portal. Parker Henderson says, hey, let Garrett Riley hire his offense. Hey, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. The only thing that I would say to Garrett, if I start to see him hire some people, it's kind of suspect, I'd say, no, we're not doing that. Only if you have someone really good that would surpass them. But I agree with you 100%. Let Garrett Riley hire his offense. Let him hire his offense. Well, folks, I'm going to let you go. Jeremiah Trotter will not play in the bowl game. He declared yesterday he's going to the NFL. Good luck to him. What a player. What a flipping player. It seems like he got here and now he's just left. And that's what I told you. While the powers that be at Clemson are trying to figure out, who's a good coach and who did I just give a chance that didn't deserve a chance, but I gave it to him because, well, don't question me. We're wasting eligibility. You remember Brisset and Murphy? Yeah, they're gone. Yeah. Now Jeremiah Trotter's gone. That's what happens when you play this game of hiring questionable coaches. You waste eligibility. God Clemson says Bobby Durkins is better than this show. Hey, Bobby Durkins has a beef with me. He can't stand me and I can't stand him. He's a loudmouth redneck that makes Clemson fans look bad. I despise him. Folks, thank you so much. You take care of yourself. I hope you subscribed. Stop by, tell 4puttcards.com that you heard about them from me. And as always, go Tigers.